spirit, just appeared to him and spoke to him. And here he goes with the story as he had to explain himself to, as he meets, either he was meeting the Roman king or he went to meet, he was caught somewhere where they were trying to persecute him and he has to explain himself. I don't know when that they were beating him and he sort of fumbled with his story and said something else. But, I'm sure when he was writing, he was sitting when he was writing. So it's not like when they were beating him, when he was being attacked, that he had to be, whilst this thing was being written down. So there's no excuse to that. His conscience was full there. The Holy Spirit that he claimed to have was upon him, and he was writing, and he was saying these things. So he must be a man full of correct tongue and no errors. But let's see if my reading is wrong or what is written there is just, it says, and there's Acts chapter 9 verse 7. And the men who journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no one. You hear this? And Acts 9 chapter verse 7, Acts chapter 9 verse 7. And the men who journeyed with him, Paul, with him, stood speechless. They stood there speechless, saying nothing. Hearing a voice, they were hearing a voice, but seeing no one. But their eyes couldn't see anybody, but they could hear what the voice was saying to Paul and all that. So if it was Jesus, whatever it was, that is the Spirit that was speaking, they were hearing it. This is the same encounter I went through when I was in the Calvary Chapel Baptist Church. The voice that spoke through this mouth that I'm using to speak to you now, in that laudable, audible voice, as loud as a giant or any other person can speak. I don't think that was my normal voice as I speak to you right now in this microphone. That was like 100 pieces of speakers put together, and the vibration in the room was beyond. There's a little man like me. Anybody who was close his eye at that time would doubt that the words came from my mouth. And I doubted myself. But yes, because it came from my mouth, I can't doubt. But I was consciously aware. But anybody they heard the words, let God be God. They heard it. There's witnesses to it. They understood it. I understood it. I heard it. The confusion I had was, had this thing been happening in this church? Has it happened before? But nobody could tell me anything. Maybe it's the first time. It was strange to them. I don't know. And I start having the feeling that they were plotting against me, or they're having something against me. Maybe they might think I'm some spirit from somewhere or some evil person. Or the words can also show that the spirit, some sort of advocating for God in a very angry manner, whether they were not God-believing people and pretending to be, and that the voice had to come angrily to tell them, to warn them, or it is a general word that spoke to the entire world. I don't know how far the voice went, whether everybody heard it, those in Japan or everybody, I don't know. Because if the voice was from God and a message to the whole generation of people, then everybody must hear it in his own language. Just like it's explained in the day of Pentecost when they had to speak through the Holy Spirit. They said when they spoke, everybody who was standing there heard it in his own native language. Because when God wants to speak, he speaks to everybody. And a good God who created all of us, when he speaks fairly, he will not discriminate against anybody. He will speak for the hearing of everybody. So, there's now tongue-speaking people that have, through the books of Paul, says that there must be a private speaking tongues for prayers, reasons, and whatever. I don't know. Maybe it's there, but there's nothing you can find in this book to back whatever you do. But hey, I'm not interested in that part. I'm interested in the good and the truthful things that I think that generally I have to look up to, not the things that can be dodgy. No, not the things that can be dodgy. Now, from what I quote here, it says that the people with him were speechless. They heard the voice, as I relate to what happened to me in Baptist church, something similar to that. But they saw nothing. I didn't see anything. Rather, I felt something inside me. that became so huge to speak. But I don't know why, when I was about to pray, whatever it is, had to use my mouth to speak to the people, whether that thing hasn't got his own mouth, whether that thing hasn't got his own, whether it was meant to sort of bring me into that situation where there will be doubts and, some sort of sensitive approach to my life, whether it's going to make it was meant to sort of damage me or to sort of make me expose me into. I'm sure whatever it is, the intention behind it, up to this morning has not brought me anything good. I'm not very satisfied with my condition in life. I'm not satisfied with so many things that happens in my life at the moment. And the progressive, moment I felt in my life when I came here has changed to a worse state, that anything at all that comes my way somehow provokingly or somehow exercise some sense of authority, unnecessary authority, that might feel that it has that right to do so and so, just because of that moment. I've been experiencing this for almost since 2003 to now, which is virtually almost 7 years, I'll say. Yeah, from 2003 to 2011, it's almost 7 to 8 years now. So I have been through a lot, and I know that I've been through a lot. Not forgetting even the visions and the spiritual experiences of night, it's unbelievable. But let me point out what I'm telling you here. Now, from what you have heard on them hearing a voice and not seeing anything in Acts 9, verse 7, we will go to Acts 22, verse 9. Acts chapter 22, verse 9. It says, "And those who were with me," this was more like he spoke. This is more of a direct speech. First, "and those who were with me indeed saw the light." They saw the light and were afraid, but they did not hear the voice of him who spoke to me. Now, the audience here who heard the account of Acts are now hearing something different. Now, whether he's in a different location, if I had to go through the readings, that will prove that. But it's not the location issue we are talking about. Whatever audience that were there, if it's the same audience, the story is now different. He's not telling them that they saw the light. Okay? They saw a light. They saw indeed, they saw the light. But they did not hear the voice that was speaking to him. Now, is it Paul who is lying? Or is it the Holy Spirit that is lying? What is lying here? What is teaching the different things here? Is it the Spirit behind the writing of this book that is causing us all these problems? Or what is it? This is lunatic. This is crazy. It is strictly written here that in 9 verse 7, they heard a voice, but they saw nothing. And when we come to Acts 22 verse 9, they saw the light, but they heard no voice. So which is which? Now you make it for yourself. I have quoted the chapters and the verses in the book of Acts. Check it out yourself. See what is there. Tell me, is it the Holy Spirit inspired book, or is it whatever? But we have a generation where music and all that is influencing us and blinding us and clouding our mind with elements of whatever that seizes our brains to recognize the things that we have to recognize, and blinding our mind, our eyes, to stop us seeing the things that we have to see, and blocking and clouding our judgments. Every time you see people busy and you don't know what they're up to.